Morning and welcome to Morning Coffee with Brigid. I'm Brigid Burke and it is now the 25th of November and the first day apparently of Mercury Retrograde. I don't know if it's quite started yet. Hello Sam, good morning, good afternoon. Hello Alex, good morning. Just noting that morning, yes. Just noting that it's going to be Mercury Retrograde is going to be starting very, very soon. If it hasn't started already. Good morning, Joanne. And good morning, Melissa. Hey, it's Monday morning, and we're all up and ready and on the live stream. It's been interesting. I woke up with a really not a super bad headache. It was kind of like hi there, good morning, and great reminder. I totally forgot about Mercury retrograde. Yeah. Good morning, Joanne. Saying good morning, all. One of the things that a friend of mine taught me about Mercury retrograde, that is just a little hot tip, is that if you ever get Van oil, it's literally how it sounds, V-A-N, Van oil, which I think is something that's kind of used in like voodoo or Santeria practices, but you can buy, like you can go on the internet and find it. It's not very expensive. If you get a bottle of Van oil and you kind of put it, I always put it on the crown, third eye, throat, and heart at least, and then on the, wrists, during Mercury retrograde, that helps you maintain clarity. And this was something a friend had told me, so of course I experimented with it. And yes, I do find that having the Van oil allows me to see when there's a situation I shouldn't entirely trust. Like, it just seems like it has a connection to that. So just a little hot tip, those of you who are into oils and, magical oils and things like that does actually seem to have some kind of property that, it doesn't get rid of all the effects of Mercury retrograde, but it does help. Oh, excellent. Do you recommend a brand? I use Seven Sisters. That's the brand that I use, although I'm sure there's other brands that are just as effective. Ooh, thanks for the tip. Sure. Good morning, Suda. We were just talking about how Van oil is a good deterrent to Mercury retrograde things, because we were starting with that today. And let me tell you, I feel like this one, I feel like it's going to be an intense one, but I also think it's going to be one that, for whatever shakeups occur during this retrograde, are going to lead to exactly where it is we want to go. Okay? That's the sense that I get. I actually decided to do an I Ching reading this morning. I've been talking so much about Taoism and stuff, and I was like, I have an I Ching. I have an I Ching card set, actually. And so I did this beforehand, because if I was going to do it here, it takes a lot of time. The hexagram that I got for today was Sui, okay, which is number 17, and it's called Following. And the meaning of this particular I Ching card is, or hexagram really, Sui indicates there will be great progress and success, but it will be advantageous to be firm and correct. Then there will be no error. And I have another I Ching interpreter book that I look at sometimes, so I cross-compared, and basically it says now is a time to lead rather than to follow. Okay, so what I was seeing this morning a little bit was that we're kind of, and our woodpecker friend is back again. There's a woodpecker who just stops at this tree every morning at this time. Maybe he wants to join the live stream, who knows. But he's a little far away for that. It's very much, and it's interesting that he joined right as I said that too. We'll have to look up the meaning of wood. I have looked up the meaning of woodpecker actually spiritually before as well, but off the top of my head, I can't quite remember the specific details. But I feel like what's coming up now is there's a lot of stress right now, and the fact that we're going to be moving into a space that's somewhat cloudy when Mercury goes retrograde. Yeah, there's things that can be misunderstood, miscommunications, delays in travel, delays in communication. Not a great time to buy technology. Now, I had an interesting dream last night. I'm only going to tell you part of it, but I'm always in a library. I don't know what it is about my dreams that they're only set in libraries. And typically, this was not a library that I had worked in, but I was there with another friend of mine who's moved recently, actually. She used to live not very far down the street, but she's now moved farther north in New Jersey. And she was and she was in this dream. Like, she was one of the librarians in this dream. And it was like I was too. It was almost like I was a visiting librarian of this space. And it's like I had a laptop and I had my phone. Safe space, possibly. Possibly. I have a lot of other associations with library just because I've kind of grown up in them. There may be another layer there. Yeah, there's the woodpecker, and he's one of those ones with the big red crest on top. It's like that's why I can't avoid looking at him or her. I don't even know what the gender is of this particular woodpecker. I don't know how to sex a woodpecker, but that sounded wrong, didn't it? Anyway, so in this dream, it was like, okay, I was like doing something, and it was like they took my phone and my laptop, and it was like put away in the director's drawer for safekeeping. But then it was like when the day was over, it was like I had to go to another library to meet up with a bunch of people who I knew. Yeah, Joanne's laughing here. Who I knew from like IT people that I had worked with. Because I mean, remember when I did library for years, for at least the second half of my career, I was mostly IT. Okay, I was doing systems work and stuff like that. And so it was like almost like I was going to be meeting a bunch of these people that I used to work with, like at another library, kind of. Although the building I had in mind for that was like the post office where I grew up. So anyway, it's kind of weird. In any case, so I was, but when the library closed, usually most libraries like on weekends and stuff close around 5 p.m. We went and I was with my friend, and and I was like, okay, I need to get my stuff. But everywhere she looked, she's like, I can't find where we put your stuff. And she was kind of going through every normal cubby hole where somebody would put something away. And of course, the library's closed. People are gone now. And she's like, oh, but that's your phone. Like, you can't, you have to have your phone. Like, you can't, like, not, we can't just wait till next week to try to see where it is. So she was going through all of these things. And finally, they went into the director's office. And it seemed like her initial look in the drawer, she couldn't find it. So I said, well, why don't you call the director and ask her if she put it somewhere? Which, but she did. And it was funny because she had a landline phone that was on the wall, which was weird. Because most of the time we don't think of it that way anymore. We don't, I mean, some people, my mother still has a landline, but, there's not a lot of people who necessarily have them anymore. But as she's calling, I decided to look through the drawers, and then I found like this kind of plastic envelope, and it had both of them. And I said, I found it. It's here. And so she told the person, oh, okay, she found it. And weirdly, as soon as we hung up the phone, it was like people started coming back into the library. It was like open again, but it was nighttime. So I don't know. It was very odd. There was more to that dream. And something about stingrays, too. I don't know what the heck. Like, somebody being afraid of stingrays, and I'm like, but stingrays are in water, and we're not in water. Like, why are you afraid of stingrays? It was something really weird like that. I don't know. Anyway, make of that what you will. But I definitely felt that the phone computer thing has a lot to do with the fact that we're going into Mercury retrograde. Like, not being able to find the thing that you need to communicate, the thing that I need to do business and commerce, which is also Mercury, right? There's this, so there's this energy here. And so I woke up, I thought, okay, there seems to be some concern around that. But all the messages I got this morning, the Azrael messages, the rune messages, pretty much everything I got was saying, even tarot, it was like, no, you are, what's going on right now, I think there's a lot of stress right now. And it's saying, no, this is like the foreground to joy. Maybe the stingray could be attributed to Neptune and unrealistic fears. Possibly. I haven't actually looked up specifically what the symbolism is of a stingray itself. Although they are animals that people do swim with, but they also can be quite dangerous too. If you go, there's divers who will go and swim with the stingrays, but it could be. But that's a good point. That could well be an angle of it there. That there could be something unrealistic about it. But and I also think of the stingrays as being in water, so I'm thinking about that's something that's coming out of that Neptunian, Piscean space, or that unconscious space that might be coming forward, but is not, maybe is perceived to be a threat, but isn't. And so what's interesting is that, so I woke up this morning and I'm like, okay, I feel like this is going to be a Mercury retrograde. Now, whether this is just personal or collective, I feel like there may be some collectiveness. I have a Stingray Animal Spirit card. Oh, okay. It would be interesting to know what the meaning is there of Stingray according to that deck that you have, or according to that card. Because what I felt was that like, okay, there's going to be some shakeups, some upsets, some communications that may set, but they said actually what these are going to, and I think I've said this before, it's like keeps coming up, like, no, you are literally I was getting all the wish cards. You are literally on the verge of getting everything that you want, like literally. And right now the moment is you're not seeing that as real. You're not seeing it as real. You're going, oh, and I don't know that this is just for me personally. I'd also pulled a rune this morning, and I said, well, what rune do I need to, for the live stream? What do we want to talk about? And the one I have is Ehwaz. And there's an Ehwaz and an Ehwaz. And again, I'm sure there's other ways of saying these names too. I've seen other names. But I'm just going to read this to you so you can get a sense of this. As we are tested, we fund the power to avert blockage and defeat. At the same time, we develop in ourselves an aversion to the conduct that creates stress in our lives. If there appears to be an obstacle in your path, consider that even a delay may prove beneficial. Do not be overly eager to press forward, for this is not a time or situation where you can make your influence felt. Patience is the counsel Ehwaz offers. Nothing hectic, no acting needy, no lusting after a desired outcome. It speaks to the difficulties that can arise at the beginning of a new life. Often announces a time of waiting, for a spring to fill up with water, for fruit to ripen on the bough. Perseverance and foresight are called for here. The ability to foresee consequences before you act is a mark of the profound person. Avert anticipated difficulties through right action. And yet, even more than we are doers, we are deciders. Once the decision is clear, the doing becomes effortless. Okay? You are put on notice that through inconvenience and discomfort, growth is promoted. It may well be a trying time. Certainly, it's a meaningful one. So set your house in order, tend to business, be clear, and wait on what he calls the will of heaven. Okay. So Melissa now has the stingray note thing. Consider a pivot. Let go of your fixed idea of success. Look at your problems as different paths to make your journey worthwhile. And yeah, there you go. That's perfect. Because that's kind of what I've been seeing is that there's opportunities here. There's opportunities to literally do the thing that you want. But we may only be focused on what our limitations are. And that seems to be coming up. I've been working on the readings for this week too, which hopefully I'll have out by the end of today. I know it's Libra through Pisces, and I know some of you, that applies to some of you here. They will be out. I've done Libra through Sagittarius already, and yesterday evening I was tired, so I said, okay, I'll do Capricorn through through Pisces this morning, and put that out before my next live stream. Maneuverability, pivot, flexibility, let go, blend, peace, harmony. Yeah, and peace and harmony is a thing too, because there seems to be this opportunity for connection. That keeps coming up as well. That connection is definitely a thing that we want to focus on here, is trying to connect rather than to divide, okay? Now, mind you, this all seems to be connected to some kind of a shakeup. So the idea of flexibility makes a lot of sense, because we may need to pivot. There may be something where we're going along with our plans, but we want to be unattached enough to the outcome that if we need to pivot, we can just say, oh, okay, well, can't go this way, gonna go this way. Because ultimately you still end up where it is that you need to go. A lot of times it's just not in the way that we think we're going to get there. In this particular dream, I seem to remember finding my thing, and then it's eventually I was late, but I managed to get to where I needed to go somehow in the end. But just late, not quite in the way I expected, and a little bit later. But I don't know. It just feels like we are going to start moving into a space. Like I said, we are in Sagittarius season. The new moon is coming up next week. Actually, this week maybe. The end of this week? Next week. Next week it'll be coming up. Maybe almost December 2nd, I think. So today is the 25th. Yeah, about a week from today. So that new moon, yeah. And of course, during the waning phase, we often think of that as a time of cleaning up old business. Anyway, Mercury Retrograde is also a time of revisiting and cleaning up old business. So I don't know, whatever it is that we learn, because Mercury Retrograde can bring revelations too. Things can come back around, and things that were not clear to us could be made clear. So I feel like, yeah, there's definitely a big correction that's going on right now. There's something that we may be in for certain surprises. And nobody ever likes to hear that, by the way. When you tell somebody, yeah, the unexpected's about to come in, or if I get the Hagalaz rune, which I have frequently, the shakeup, disruption. It's like, I don't want to be disrupted. I got things to do. I don't need to be disrupted right now. But the whole point is that the disruption is something that's designed to take your attention away from the things that no longer need your attention. So yeah, we're kind of moving into this space of being able to correct course. But I don't think it's something we should overthink either, because I think a lot of times when we talk about these things, we start going, well, what are the areas of our life that are going to be? I think it's something more that you have to flow with. There needs to be more something that you just kind of say, okay, noted that this may be something that's coming up. And as you encounter whatever it is you encounter at that moment, you want to react from whatever place is really your own authority, right? Whatever your inner authority is. If I've done life path readings for you, then I would have done human design. And some of you know your human design without having a life path with me. So, whatever it says your inner authority is, you want to check on because that's the space you want to react from. Most people, it's not the head. Most people, it's either the solar plexus, the sacrum. Have I seen any other options? There's a couple other centers. There's like the spleen center, the splenic center. Actually, yeah, I have had a client who had the splenic center as there, and that's where the deep intuition is. So looking at your human design chart, Joanne, I know you sent me your astrological chart, so I can let you know what yours is when I have a chance to look at that. But yeah, it's not, and it's not hard to find. I mean, it's something you can find on your own. I think I've mentioned this before. If you go to jovianarchive.com, and again, if I've done a life path chart for you, just go back to your life path chart because it's in there. The information's in there. This whole time I thought it was sacral, but mine is actually solar plexus. Yeah, now are you manifesting generator, Sam? Because usually it's one of the other, usually I'm like a kite blowing in the winds of time. Well, that's a different thing. That has to do with your configuration. But yeah, you're a generator. Okay. Yeah, most people I know generators are 80% of people, and generators are the most open type. I'm a manifesting generator, which means that in addition to getting frustrated, I get impatient. Isn't that great? I want to say that mine is the spleen. Alex, that's probably true, because I think with reflectors, yeah, there is, that seems where the splenic authority is. It's either projectors or reflectors. So it's almost like you're reflecting something that's very deep intuition. Suda says, I have to look at mine. Yeah, I remember I did yours. I want to say that you're one of the generator types, in which case, I can't remember if yours was solar plexus or sacrum, because I know we did yours quite a while back. So, but if it's certainly, mine operates from the sacral, and so what that says is, okay, when you react, it's like when something is presented to you, you react with a quick yes or no. Surprisingly, projector. Oh, yours was a projector. Okay. Oh, right. Okay. So that was right. So that's why it's kind of like, yeah, you kind of have to be in a space to kind of conserve your energy a bit, or that you kind of work well kind of in tandem. Can't remember my human design. I guess I'm going to have to guess I'm a manifester because I have like zero patience. You're not a manifester, and I'll tell you why. Because manifestors are generally not very nice people. You're probably a generator, but you'll find as you get older when you're a generator that you don't have the energy that you had vim and vigor when you were younger to just go like the Energizer Bunny. Manifestors are like okay, and I don't want to say this about all manifestors, but Adolf Hitler was a manifester. Okay, that's what I mean. There's an energy of aristocracy and entitlement that manifestors have. I did have manifestors I've done life path charts for. And these people turned out to be the most belligerent, angry, like if I didn't do something for them right away, it was like, you are not serving me the way that you should. Like, they were that kind of people. That's why manifestors, and they're also a small minority. But then again, some of them can do very, very important things. I don't want to suggest that everybody with a manifestor type necessarily has to be that way. But so far, that's kind of what I've found. And I'm like, okay, I don't want to judge the entire human race based on a few people. But it does tend to be a type that can be very aristocratic in its expectations. I think the way my human design teacher had put it was, she says, if you want to look back to feudal times, it's like the manifestors were the landowners and the generators were the peasants running the farm, right? Because they're the workers. The manifestor is the one who doesn't expect to get their hands dirty. So, but they're the idea person, right? So it's kind of interesting. So probably anybody with an open aura is usually a generator type. But yeah, you also have projectors and reflectors, and those tend to be very, those two types tend to be very intuitive, and also tend to be the kind of types that work well, like in tandem with other people. Especially Alex, you being Libra, I think that makes sense too, because you definitely have that kind of friendly back and forth kind of energy that I think is, which makes perfect sense with a reflector. That's why I said probably if you were doing something different, you'd probably make a great therapist or something too, because you seem like the kind of person who could easily reflect back to somebody like what it is that they're going through, like, you know, to be able to kind of mirror something back to people very, very easily while still remaining quite grounded, I think, in the way that you do things. So anyway, I'm not saying that's something you will do or have to do, but it just occurs to me. Absolutely, the happy mirror. Oh gosh, I wish I could be a therapist. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'll find out what that's like. Joanne already has the credentials for that. I have psychology credentials, but I'm not licensed. Yeah, interesting. Yeah. So it's a really interesting. The typology of human design is interesting, and it's a rabbit hole you can go down. Speaking of the I Ching, I mean that's part of it too. There's also something in I Ching that I only learned about more. My teacher didn't really get into this, but there's more something about what they call the Godhead. And when you hear about your Godhead archetype, you think, oh, okay, that's my ruling narrative, or that's the thing I should live by. But in fact, it's just the opposite. It's the archetype you live by that limits you. So mine happens to be Janus, and Janus is the god that's named for January. He looks both forward and backwards, has two faces, a Roman god, and that's in what they call the quarter of initiation, and it has to do with duality. So that is where the mind is the way that you manifest things. So that's probably why I'm a teacher and why I'm very verbal and so forth. But the Janus thing is where you can tend to get into these dualities, that it has to be this way or this way. Janis Joplin, okay. Oh, you're thinking of Janice, not Janus, right? Okay. You brought this up last time, and I had to look into it. Mine is Thoth. I wish mine was Janus. He's so cool. Well, I mean, it's interesting. Now that's interesting. I'm wondering what Thoth would be, because Thoth is remember, it's the thing that gets in your way. It's not the thing that helps you, So for me, it's like, yeah, I gotta get away from black and white thinking, which I think I kind of have done. I try not to look at things, and we make these kinds of judgments. Janus. I know. It drives me crazy. I type things on the phone all the time, and I'm like, that's not the letter I meant to hit. But yeah, so Thoth, that's interesting. I'm trying to think, because if Thoth is the scribe of the gods, if the Thoth is and also he's kind of almost like the record keeper there. I don't know if that's interesting. I'm not sure, so I don't want to speak, but we think of some of the attributes of Thoth, where some of those could represent a limitation. I could probably look at my cartouche book, because I want to look at the reverse of Thoth, and then that might give me an idea of what it is. But certainly if Thoth has to do with I don't know, maybe there's just certain aspects of the soul, or of our soul's journey, where we may be limiting ourselves unintentionally. So I don't know. I mean, the Godhead is a really complicated, multi-leveled kind of thing. Bringer of truth and remover of obstacles. And that's just it. We think Thoth is definitely a very positive influence in Egyptian myth. But the question is, how could Thoth be a limiter? Because if Thoth is Sam's Godhead in her human design chart, then he represents an archetype that she needs to move past. So what is it? And like I said, it tends to mean not what we think it means. Like Kali is one of them too, and you would think, oh, Kali's a great one to have too, but Kali may indicate that we need to focus less on tearing down, maybe, and more on building up. It's interesting. So I need to, because, and again, I know I have a hard time thinking of Thoth in the negative. So it's like, I don't quite, I'll look it up. And you know what, tomorrow's live stream, I'll have that. Oh, wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, the Godhead is the thing that you need to get away from. That's the thing that limits you. So, it's a really, human design is a pretty complex system. So, generally, like when I do the life paths, I'm kind of doing an overview of everything, because you can spend hours just going into one that. You work with him a lot. Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, and Thoth is, like I said, Thoth is a great deity to work with. Certainly, he's one that's connected to a lot of Hermetic mysteries and things as well. Scribe of the gods, keeper of, a lot of people think he's keeper of the Akashic and things like that, but that's what Thoth's role is. But there's just something about that, Well, okay, I'm curious now, so you guys are going to have to give me 2 seconds. I'm going to get up and go, get a full body shot of me this morning. Just looked it up. Okay, Alex is looking it up. I have no inner authority. Oh, right, because you're a reflector. That's right. I think we've talked about this before. You have, same. Okay, so if you have no inner authority, then it's kind of like you, right, because you don't have any defined centers when you're a reflector. So it's just kind of like it's a matter of, well, I suppose then it's a matter of recognizing that what's going on in the environment, trying to discriminate kind of between what's you and what's something that you're reflecting back from other people. So there might be, so that might be where you really have a need to center and to say, okay, let me listen to whatever my guides are telling me, or what my own inner voice, what my inner voice, because we all have an inner voice. I mean, even if we don't have what they call an inner authority. So that's interesting. Do you know what your strategy is? Does it say what your strategy is? I can't quite remember what that is. So let me look up Thoth. Okay, so Thoth reversed. Sometimes a sickness of the soul or difficult karma to clear up. Don't make rash judgments. Sometimes it can be where we get too caught up in, this is Thoth reversed. This is Thoth in the negative, where we might, where intellectual knowledge might take more of a precedence over, what we might learn from other people. That's a danger of Thoth in reversed. What's so interesting? It's the strategy. Wait a lunar cycle. Oh, that's interesting. That's your strategy, to wait for a lunar cycle. So so in other words, if you're not sure what to do, wait until the next cycle to make your decision. Like, give yourself time to see what's real. That's interesting. For a reflector, that makes sense, because you are very lunar in the way that you operate here. Okay, so Sam, what's interesting about Thoth in the negative is that where you have to watch out, somebody who's aware of fake or bad forms of medicine, because Thoth is also about medicine and healing. So I don't know. I think if you think of Thoth as, potentially representing kind of traditional ways of doing things, I know you're kind of looking at more, I know you take a look at health and things in a much more detailed kind of a way, especially women's health. So I don't know. So it's almost like the traditional forms of healing might be kind of a block to what you're doing, which I think is kind of interesting. When I read that, I was like, oh, okay. So Thoth has to do with, obviously not relying entirely on that. Whoa, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's just kind of glancing at it from cartouche. I don't know if human design has another way of talking about Thoth as a godhead, but to me, I'm like, okay, that would be the attributes that could be limiting. So in other words, it's saying don't just rely on book knowledge or intellectual knowledge, and it would be saying that there may be, if you're running into more traditional forms of medicine and healing and so forth. How do you find your godhead? Your godhead is, your sun in your human design chart okay, when you look at the chart, they've got the body of the person, and they've got all the little centers, and then on either side you have the planets, right? So you have your design on the left, and you have your personality on the right. Usually one's red and one's black. On the personality side, your sun, the first number is going to be, like, the numbers there are your gate plus your profile, right? So whatever gate is listed under your sun in that right column, personality, like the personality that you express, that gate is your Godhead, okay? Because the personality is not about your design. It's about how you manifest it in the world. So look at your personality, the first number, not the second. Don't worry about the second number after the decimal. Gotcha, yeah. So that's the number. And then you just, like, if you just go and, like, Google, like, you know, human design Godhead, you'll see the big wheel that they have, and you've just got to find your number in that wheel and see what quarter you fall into, and then you can, then there's another, I know there's a site, I think Jovian Archive does have a site where it'll tell you, oh, if this is your number, then this is your thing, and this is the God associated with it. Like, you're concerned with ordering, or you're concerned with this, or you're concerned with that. Like, that's how you would do that. So, yeah, be interesting to see what comes up there for you. But yeah, like I said, human design, you could drill down for ages in that. There's a lot you could do. Okay, so let's get to our readings for today. Kind of ended up being a human design discussion today, and Mercury retrograde / human design. Yeah, I'm only trying to figure out how to characterize these when I post them to my site. So let's see. So what do we have here for today? What do people need to know? Oh, you're welcome. Let's see. Okay. Oh, this is so interesting. How many of these are majors? Well, we've got 2 majors, and then we've got the extra card. All right. Our central card for today is guidance. Okay. We're just talking about our inner authorities, right? And also about our guides and where we get our guidance from. Because obviously, everybody has a soul. Everybody has a connection, right? I think like reflectors and so forth, people who don't have an inner authority are more, I don't know, almost like you're more integrated with the environment in some way. But then sometimes when the environment's in chaos, you kind of have to say, okay, what's me and what's that? Okay, I'm sorry I have to share this. Apparently I'm the Christ consciousness field. That's funny to me. But remember that is your, whatever that is the opposite of what you need to be. So that's the thing. Yeah, and of course we can talk about the negatives of Christ consciousness. So you're Jesus. Well, no, actually, well, it's not that she's, it's that particular archetype of belief, religion, what's right, what's true, what's good, is not the archetype that she needs to be following. That may be the one that you're raised with. Yeah, so you're Jesus, yeah. We're, I don't know, I don't think of myself as much of a Janus figure. I'm not very two-faced. I mean, you pretty much, what you see is what you get. So, it's definitely the opposite kind of what you are. So anyway, we're starting with guidance here. So we're talking about guidance, and the inner feeling of which we are unaware is this rebellion card. Be the anti-Jesus. Yeah, you get to be the Antichrist. There you go. No, it's, yeah. I could go off on the associations with all of that and why that's a problem in our culture, but we won't do that right now. How many hours do you guys have to sit here? Okay, so our inner feeling of which we are unaware is the Emperor. Okay, it's the rebel. Yeah, I know. It's really funny when we get into this. I'm dying. Sorry, Alex. No, you're not derailing it at all. We've been, this is a time when we want to figure out, like, okay, what's the strategy, right? So this is our discussion of strategy in this group. So the rebel is what we're seeing. Like, this is breaking the chains. And it's interesting. I've been seeing the Emperor coming up a lot very positively in the sense of, okay, it's time to be, like we saw in our thing, it is time to lead and not to follow, right? So internally, we know that we're getting it together and going, all right, I'm gonna take control of this direction here. I need to figure out what, how to make the inner and outer work together instead of against each other, right? I needed that laugh. So the laugh is good first thing in the morning. The external feeling of which we are aware is that we are beyond illusion, okay? Which is a nice card to get. This is Judgment, okay? But this means that we are awake. This is not a tarot deck. It's just literally it's the I Ching, but it's actually just expressed out in different cards. So you throw I think traditionally it's yarrow stalks that you throw, but you use coins or whatever to determine the yin and the yang and determine the broken lines, the unbroken lines, and stuff like that. And then after you've built your hexagram, my friend Z Manzilla created it. This one, because this isn't a tarot deck. This is just a I mean, there might be an I Ching tarot, which is interesting, but this one is just a regular I Ching. It just happens to be laid out on cards. So I don't know. I'd have to get the box to see if this is the one that your friend made, but but I have it over there. But anyway, so beyond illusion is where we're at. This is Judgment. So this is the fact that we're able to see what's real, and that's actually kind of important right now in Mercury retrograde. That we are being guided towards what's real, but the mind, of course, gets in the way. We have this eight of swords, and it's interesting that this has the word guilt on it. Now, frequently I find this card doesn't show up because we feel guilty about something, but more like there's an unconscious guilt about doing something that's against the grain, so to speak, or outside, about rebellion, about going outside the mainstream or the standard current of thought, or you know how it is. A lot of us will talk about things that we're doing, and we say, yeah, if you talk to our family and friends, they're like, well, that's crazy. Why do you think that? And that kind of a thing where we feel like we doubt ourselves because the guilt is really more about us feeling guilty about owning our own truth if it doesn't seem to fit in with what we think the culture is doing or what the conventional wisdom is doing, or whether our family, our spouse, if you have a spouse, if you have, whatever it is, that if you feel like it's not fitting in, that's where I think the guilt comes in. That's where we get mentally tied up in knots, because there's the thing we know we're very clear about who we are and what we need to do, but we may feel like, okay, are we going to, how is this going to affect others? That's kind of the way we think about it. Yeah, it's not a tarot. He's on my podcast. It was all about that deck. It's I Ching cards. Sorry. Okay. So maybe it is this deck. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. Because like I said, that's sitting over on my nightstand over there. Because it was easier for me to throw the coins and stuff sitting on my bed. I bought this deck ages ago also. I think this is one I bought probably at the end of the 80s. So it's a really old one. Well, not really old. I don't know. I mean, I don't think of the 80s as that old. I feel like it happened 5 years ago. And of course, it's much longer than that. How excellent. Yeah. It's, yeah. So, okay. But our outcome card is the Master. All right. So this is that extra card in the Osho Zen deck. And the Master card is, okay, again, with guidance, who's the teacher? Who's the guru? Who is your guide? Because sometimes, if you don't have an inner authority that's a guide, or if you don't actually, but I think most of us have guides of some type, though. So as gurus, some of us have deities that act as guides to us. I'm not going to say who everybody's guides are, or, if I happen to know, but you know who your guides are. And it's, so there is guidance that's available to you, even if you don't have that. And so there definitely seems to be the sense that we are being guided towards where it is that we need to go, and it's going to be something that's going to take us out of an identity or a system that we're in, that we have been maybe unconsciously subscribing to. Because now it looks like unconsciously we are moving out of that space. Unconsciously we are not. It looks like the garbage truck's here early. Where we're unconsciously, we are moving out of the space of what our default narrative was. I guess that's the way I want to phrase it. Whatever our default narrative is or was, I feel like we are moving away from that. And so this guidance is coming in right now. So I think we're going through this Mercury retrograde guided. Okay, you're not going through it alone. And I feel like people are, if you've done the work, if you've been doing the work, that you're not going to be in such an unconscious position that you're going to be deceived. Okay, so let's see. I wanted to pull a couple other things since we have a couple of minutes. I brought my Moonology deck out today. There's another Moonology deck. There's a bigger one that I've seen. I almost bought it when I was over in London last time, but I mean, it's widely available. But I still use the older one. So let's see what Moonology comes up for today. Interesting. Okay. We have the Waxing Moon card. The energy is gaining momentum. Okay. Now what does that mean? I know a lot of people don't just try to read just the message on the card, but I find that there's often a little bit more to it. Okay. And really, we're in the waning moon cycle, but the card is for the waxing moon. It says, during the waxing moon cycle, hope springs eternal. This is a very positive omen indicating you can create the reality you're dreaming of. This is what kind of message I got this morning, though it will take some work and you're not quite there yet. It's a time of energies rising up. Emotions are building too. Where do you want to go, and do you believe you can get there? Either you can keep meditating and focusing on your outcome, or make a courageous commitment to take more practical steps towards your goals. Whatever you decide, you are most certainly on the right track. So this is basically saying, yes, we are on the right track here. Okay. So again, for some people, you may feel like you need to step back, wait, think about something some more. And for other people, you may feel saying like, no, I've got to do something right now. So I would just only say with retrograde, Mercury retrograde, if your actions involve communication or signing contracts or something like that, that's something you want to be cautious of right now. If there's a need to do that right now, then make sure you're really looking at things very, very clearly before you do that. And be aware that you can get missed messages at this time. Missed messages, wrong messages, I don't know. Anyway, but I think that's why in the beginning I recommended the Van oil, because generally you're able to see when something isn't right. Right now, I just want an adult blanket for it. Yeah, well, it's what Joanne's saying. Well, it's it's funny. I'd say there's like kind of almost like we need to kind of pull back and find our center and kind of. I've often felt that when you practice a type of meditation where you can be totally in your center, then you don't. There's always going to be the chaos going on around you, but somehow you don't feel it as strongly when that happens. Oh God, I'm sorry. Not to interrupt my own train of thought here, but I just did this, and here's our outcome card right now, Mercury retrograde. Because we're starting with this Saturn return card. Okay, so this is where, now remember, Saturn return, a lot of times this comes up of like Saturn being like the harsh taskmaster who says, here's the debts you have to pay. Oh my God, yeah, right? But Saturn return actually has to do with correction. Again, correcting course. Where do we need to stop, slow down, correct course, right? Because we're in an environment of Pisces, which is just we were talking about, like, I don't know. And Piscean energy, and yeah, I mean, that's definitely a thing, because now it's like the clarity of communication that we get with Mercury is now kind of, it's not quite clear. So when Piscean energy comes in, we have to rely more on that inner voice. We have to rely more on our intuition to tell us how to work our way through the fog. We're trying to see without our eyes, so to speak, right? Now, what we're not seeing, this is interesting. We've got Mars. So Mars is the energy, of course, of... now, Mars currently... I think Mars is still in Cancer. Although, I don't know, is Mars... at least in terms of where it is in the night sky right now, it's in Cancer. I don't know if it's now moved to Leo, or if it's going to be moving to Leo in this cycle, or, because I'm realizing what's in the sky is not always necessarily how the astrology reads it, but Mars is what we're not seeing. And Mars is action, right? Mars is, it can be even aggression, or it can be something that pushes us or moves us. Mars is in Leo, but it will be in Cancer again soon. Okay, so it's going to retrograde. Because like when I look at it in the night sky, it's still kind of in Cancer. But as we noted in tropical astrology, it's usually a sign ahead of where it really is. So yeah, that's why I was thinking it might more be in Leo right now. But it's, yeah. So Mars is what we're not seeing. There could be, And typically the meaning of this, I think, is, how do they phrase it? It's like it's okay to push, but don't push too hard kind of thing. Let me just see if I'm not confusing that with Aries, but, you know, it's, how do they say it here? Okay. Suggests there may be something you have to fight for. It makes us shove hard in a way other planets don't. It may be also being pushing back in terms of defense. So there may be something in a sense where we feel not only forced, but we feel driven. Okay, so I was just looking at some of the words here that are in the card. So yeah, there could be something where something riles us up and we say no. And maybe that's why we have this energy of rebellion here. Like, no, I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm not going to do I'm not going to fall into this pattern. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. So that's that's what we're not expecting right now. We may always kind of like placidly be going along, like Joanne talking about the blanket fort and everything, but there may be something where it's just kind of like we step up and we say, no, this is what's authentic and this is what I'm fighting for. But now that might get scary and you might think, oh no, there's going to be some scary thing that's going to happen. Well, but we have the Grand Trine. So the Grand Trine brings blessings, okay? Grand Trine means just go with the flow is going to be easy. Go with that. Don't get caught up. There's going to be this aggression. You need to go what feels right for you. If there's something you feel you need to fight for, then fight for it. If you don't need to, if you feel like you just need to step back and stay away from it and figure out your own thing, then do that. Because we always think that Mars always has to do with direct jumping in kind of force. And sometimes the response to that kind of force, if you think about martial arts, is to just simply step out of the way and let that person, crash into the wall or whatever. It's kind of like Roadrunner and Coyote, right? Like every time Coyote comes in, like attacking him with something, yep, desperately trying to step back here. Yeah. And, and then, so he comes charging at the Roadrunner and the Roadrunner steps out of the way and then he gets, especially given my personality. Yeah, well, that's what you were saying, Suda. Yeah, that it's hard for you to step back from certain things, and sometimes it's just that's what we're kind of called to do is to the word Aikido. If you think about that type of martial art, that's the word for avoidance, and literally it's and I remember learning martial arts. I did martial arts for about 5 years, and it's so interesting when you work with Qi. Is that, and people who've done, I know some of you have done Qigong and things like that. When you're working with Qi, which is energy, it's often, it's kind of like what we talk about in Taoism. Use the energy that's there to your advantage. So if somebody comes at you with full force, if you yield, that person's force, knocks them over. Doesn't knock you over, knocks them over, because their force is what takes them. And so that is how that's how you deal with something that's bigger and stronger than you. Is you have to maneuver and say, like, okay, where's their energy center? I'm just going to flow with their energy center. Yep. And when I flow with their energy center, then they're the ones who end up getting caught off balance, not me. That's one of the things that I have always learned in martial arts. Ricochet and Kyle. Yeah, right. And also, I've learned how to take down guys several times my size by you just learn how to go with their energy. You don't jump in. The first thing you want to do is kind of do this, right? You want to go like this again. That doesn't. That now you're just both draining yourself of energy, and if they happen to have more of that brute strength, you could lose out in that kind of a situation. But when they start doing this and you go like this, and they just go. It happens every time. So anyway, our outcome is Mercury retrograde. So this is letting us know that right now we need to go with the flow. If there's something that doesn't seem right to us, we need to speak up. If this doesn't seem to right to us authentically, in some cases though, as we've said, sometimes it just means we need to step back. Whatever the strategy is, whatever seems right. But right now we are in a period of correction. So you have to realize that if certain things are not moving ahead or moving ahead in the way that you want them to, it may well be because you are, because there's this area of the word on this card is actually reinvention. So this may be telling, a lot of times the benefit of Mercury retrograde is that we have a chance to re-examine something and say, oh, maybe I need to do this differently this time. which may be why we've been talking about the Godheads today, because we may have an unconscious assumption about how we must approach things, and maybe it's saying, okay, now you have a chance to look at it again, and what will you do differently this time, you know? So anyway, we're at 10 of, so I'm going to get going, but thank you guys so much for joining me this morning, and I hope you have a great week. It is Thanksgiving this week in the USA, so so if you're celebrating that, I hope you have, like I said, I'll see you before that. Thank you so much, and a beautiful, you're welcome. And I will be here, every day this week. I still should be on doing a live stream. I mean, I'll probably do one on Thanksgiving too. Thanks so much. Have a great one. Sounds great. Yep. See all of you tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful week. And until tomorrow morning then, take care. Bye-bye.